What's up, YouTube? Today I got another video for you today. Just got off work not that long ago, and today I figured would be a decent day to make a video on my work history. Since I made a video on my smoking history, I might as well make one on my work history as well, because I've worked a few jobs now. And but yeah, and today we're gonna just be smoking a Camel filtered cigarette. Now this is, again, the ones in the hard pack, and they do taste different from the ones in the soft pack. Don't ask me why. They're completely different styling, different ink used on the Camel, everything. So I still need to make a review for these, which honestly I might make tonight. But also towards the end of this video, I have kind of a little story and also some really good news. Anyway, let's go ahead and get our cigarette lit up. Alrighty, so basically my working history, like my entire working history period, so the first job I've ever actually had where I've actually ever been paid any money for anything that I've ever done was at, what's it called? I can't remember the place. It was at a winery. Or no, I remember, it was in Montrose, Virginia at Stratford Hall. I was paid to be an actor there for a 2-day period, and I think I got like $200, but this is back when I was 12. But they paid me, I think, $200, $100 a day, to basically just sit out there and dress up like a colonial. Like I had the full-on, like little wig with the whatever, tie in the back, and I had those weird-looking pants that have like tights, white tight-looking things coming up to about, below your knees and stuff like that. And that was a really fun job. I honestly enjoyed it, but then after that, the summer of 2017, I got a job for about a month and a half working with my uncle, because at that time he owned a tree care business up in Boone, North Carolina, and I worked with him. And we were, went out bidding jobs, cutting trees down, and shit like that. And so that was, a learning experience. And there's actually a couple times, I think, during that month and a half that my cousin actually went to the job with us. And he was in charge of, like, running the chipper and everything. Because, like, my uncle didn't want to put me, someone who's only been, working this and probably won't actually get a career in this, in charge of running the chipper by himself. Because if you get sucked into that damn chipper, I mean, this thing is huge. And I don't know if he still owns that chipper or not. I think he does, but I'm not sure though. And it has a safety bar because it has these two big gears that suck the wood in, and they kind of move, in case it's a log. And then there's just blades in there that are constantly spinning. And if you get sucked in there and you can't push that bar reverses, automatically puts it in reverse, and the gears spit whatever's in there back out. Because if you get sucked in there and that bar wasn't there, it'll just instantly liquefy you. Like there is no getting out of that. Like once you're, so you have to be careful playing around with a wood chipper of that magnitude, or any wood chipper for that matter. But after that, once I moved up to Boone, because from that time I was in high school, but in 2017 I was in the middle of high school. After I got finished high school, I moved up to Boone, and I got eventually was like looking around at jobs and stuff, and a lot of the jobs in Boone at that time I didn't like. So it took me several months to actually find a job. once I moved up there, but I eventually settled, okay, I can be a grocery stalker at Food Lion. And they kept me a few months. I was a grocery stalker. I worked in the meat department some. I worked in Q&A, which is basically like cleaning like the store at the end of the night and shit like that, making sure everything's clean, making sure everything's sanitized. And after that, I started working the front end. However, the front end I only worked for a very short period before then they just fired me. And the reason why they fired me, I'm not going to mention this manager's name, but there was this manager there who, because initially when I was hired, we didn't actually have an assistant manager, right? So, because our assistant manager got transferred down the mountain, some other Food Lion. And when I got hired, I really enjoyed it. And even in the winter time of 2020 to 2021, that's actually when our old assistant manager got transferred back. Then he was there for about a month and a half, and he got transferred again to another store. So at that point, we were in desperate need of a assistant manager because that store was struggling. And that's when we hired the new assistant manager, who again I shall not name. That's when my enjoyment of that job basically stopped, because he started implementing all these ridiculous rules. Like for the stalkers, you have to write down how many boxes you've put out, and if you don't put out enough boxes, then they're going to start cutting your pay per box that you haven't put out. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, smartass. What happens if people haven't bought the shit that you're supposed to put out? What happens then? You got an answer for me? I don't think so. So like they actually wound up getting in trouble for doing that, cutting people's pay, and that's ultimately was his undoing and why he got fired, because I think they may have even been paying people under the minimum wage, which is ridiculous, because I was started out at $10 an hour working there, and I think I got like one slight raise or something. But yeah, and he also, this manager actually offended me, because normally my direct manager, not the head manager or the assistant manager, but the manager below those two of the store, he was always really cool. As a matter of fact, he was my favorite manager that I've ever had in my history of working. But yeah. So again, they started me out $10 an hour there, and then by April 2021, that's when this new assistant manager started like firing everyone for no reason. Like a bunch of people left. They wrote up the lead stock person stocking the shelves, and he actually, if my direct manager, because my direct manager almost applied for assistant manager, but he decided not to, but he doesn't even work at this Food Lion now. He works at another Food Lion and got promoted and moved to a higher elevation further up in the mountains than Boone. But basically, he fired me for no reason. And honestly, I could have done something about it, but I didn't. I was just like, okay. But before then, actually, I'm forgetting, I did work 2 days at a Sagebrush Steakhouse in Boone. And I will mention them because this was so long ago, but basically they fired me. They were being extremely fucking petty there. Like all these people, you ever meet those women that I guess have never been fucked in their life? I'm guessing because of how like rude and inconsiderate they are. Like almost like a Karen, but not quite. Like a Karen in the making, let's put it that way. And, you know, I was always enjoying myself there for the 2 days that I worked there and, you know, chatting with people, you know, being friendly. And they came up with this excuse, and I can guarantee you those Karens in the making, what they did was started complaining about me to the managers. And they basically, what they did was they fired me for taking insulin while I was working. and that is actually against the federal law. So had I had known that, and what I should have done, I talked to my dad's friend, who I'm still friends with, and he told me next time anyone tries to do that, get them to put it in writing and give them your certificate of termination, and make sure they write down why they fired you, and you can take them to court. And it would be an open and shut case. And I would have won. But I didn't know any of this. I didn't know any of how the legal system worked at this time. But anyway, and again, that was in like late November 2020. However, there is one girl who worked there who I honestly think had a really big crush on me, because she was like always, around me, and she was like, "Oh my God, is that a Zippo you're using?" And I was just like, because she followed me. She doesn't even smoke, and she followed me outside, where we take smoke breaks at this building. And again, I only worked here 2 days, and I pulled out a Zippo, opened it, and she was like, "Is that a Zippo?" And I was like, yeah, why? But anyway, so after that, and after getting fired from Food Lion for no apparent reason, and also that assistant manager who started firing everyone, he pushed out so many people, and so many people left that he got fired from Food Lion altogether, I believe. Like literally, I think the corporate came down and said, "You can no longer work for this company because of how you are managing this stuff." But after that, I worked at the Peddler of Boone, which is a steakhouse in Boone, North Carolina. A much better steakhouse, mind you, than Sagebrush. But I mean, Sagebrush is also suffering right now because they have so few employees. And again, this petty stuff that they were doing. So few people work there now that they are no longer even open for lunch. Like, they only open for dinner. Like, a few hours a day. Like 5 hours a day, I think, is what they're open for now. But I got a job at the Peddler. And honestly, I really enjoyed that job. I learned a lot working there. Because again, only working at a restaurant for 2 days in the past, you really don't have time to basically learn anything. And so I worked there from, I think, late April until end of July. And then that's when we moved to where I'm at now. And basically the job I have now is a key holder in training at a shoe department where I work. So, and they are very understaffed at this shoe department, so they were very eager to hire me, which was good, and I was eager to work there. So, and that's where I'm at now. Just working at a shoe department. And you can actually make really good money working either at a car dealership or a shoe department if you know what you're doing and you know how to sell shoes or cars. And yeah. But basically the reason why especially I wanted this job at the shoe department is because once I work here for maybe a year and a half, I plan to reapply again, because again, they didn't hire me at any of the car dealerships, A, because of my age, and B, because I have no making my own paycheck through commissions experience. Well, today, for an example, both me and my coworker sold several $1,000s worth of shoes. I'm not going to say the exact number because I don't know if I'm allowed to, but we're the only two people working there. And this goes into the kind of unfortunate story that happened today. So we have a made in the United States cowboy boot section and work cowboy boot section. And these boots are all like, I think $200 to like $400 maybe. And as we were closing, I was just making sure, you know, stuff wasn't out of place, stuff like that a little bit before closing. And there was this box of Made in USA boots that was kind of halfway open, and one of the boots is kind of sticking out. So I was like, okay, that shouldn't have been left there by whoever was looking at them. Walk up to the box of boots, and it's that soft leather. You know, some of those work boots that they have that are made out of kind of soft leather, and like if you scuff them, it leaves a mark on the boot or whatever. And so there are several marks on it, and I was like, and I didn't think anything of it, but luckily I just happened to open the box of boots, and sure enough, they were someone's old boots that they just left in that box. And so what happened was someone walked in there with their old boots on, and took their old boots off, put the new boots on, put their old boots back in the box, and just left it there and walked out of the store. So yeah, we had an instance of theft today, but you know, it is what it is. There's always going to be stupid people, so there's nothing you can really do about it. Because right now, again, we're understaffed, so normally there'll be 2 people at the cash register, there'll be 2 or 3 people, you know, helping and also watching people, making sure they're not doing shit like that. Well, today, since there's only, you know, understaffed, there wasn't people there to do that today, and it was actually quite busy. So of course, if there's an opportunity to steal, certain people are gonna take that opportunity, and that's what they did. They took the opportunity and just stole a pair of boots. And they were not cheap either. Again, they were like $200 work boots. But kind of the pro to being understaffed is if there's only like, let's say 2 or 3 people working there, then those 2 or 3 people, the amount of boots that you sell or shoes or everything, the amount of income that you make, it gets divided up between the sales associates and the key holders, and, you know, even the managers if they're helping people with shoes and stuff. So that's the nice thing. So at least as of now, as we're understaffed, my paycheck is going to be quite large, so that's enjoyable. But yeah, so that's basically my work history and plus that little story. Now the last thing I'm going to tell you guys about is the good news. There's this tobacco store right next to where I applied, and in this tobacco store that's where I bought that pack of Camel Blues that I reviewed here on the channel, I think only like a few days ago. And at that time, there was like a 16-year-old working in there, and he was like, I asked him if he had any unfiltered cigarettes. He was like, honestly, man, I have no idea that if we even carry those. And because of his young age, I'm sure he like just got hired and didn't really know where stuff was. But today, I went into work about a half hour early on purpose. Didn't clock in yet. Just dropped, you know, like my lunch and stuff off at work. And then I walked back over there, and the owner of the store was there. And I asked him, do you have any unfiltered cigarettes? And this guy, I believe, is Indian. And so he has a very heavy accent. And sometimes it's, I don't think he quite understood what I was asking for when I said Camel Unfiltereds. And he was like, oh, you mean cigarette filters? And I was like, no, I mean like unfiltered cigarettes, like a cigarette without the filter. And he was like, oh yeah, cigarette filters. I know where those are. And he like showed me, and they're like those little holders that you can get for your cigarette that also double as a cigarette filter. And I was like, all right, because I actually do want to try some of those at some point, so I'll definitely be picking up some of those. But then eventually he understood, and he was like, oh, I understand what you mean. And he took me over to the further end of the store, and he showed me an entire, like, he had like 3 or 4 cartons of Camel unfiltered cigarettes. And I was like, thank God. So, yeah, I definitely won't ever be even thinking about buying unfiltered cigarettes from Walmart ever again. So, they don't need my business. But, yeah. But also, this tobacco store can order unfiltered cigarettes. So what I think I'm going to have them do is order next, after I purchase a carton of Camel unfiltered cigarettes, I'm going to get a carton of Philip Morris Commanders, because from what I hear on YouTube and, you know, on the internet, they're a very good cigarette. So that's what I plan to do. But yeah. Yeah, guys, that's going to be the video for today. Or, well, the first video for today. And I think right after I film this, I'm going to go ahead and film that cigarette review. But, yeah, if you like the video, like, share, comment, subscribe. Anything you do helps, really. And I will see you in the next video.